Welcome to the PhysicsPlace, the place to learn about physics, and in this video I'm going to explain pressure. Pressure is very important. For instance, when you're cutting bread, pressure is very important. Also when you are driving a tank and you have the tires here, and of course when you have a panda laying on a bed of nails. So pressure is very important in life in all these situations. To tell you how pressure works, we first will look at the equation which is needed when calculating pressure, and that's this one. The pressure is the force divided by the area. So we have P, a small letter P is the pressure. It's in Newton per square meters. You can write it like this, or it's in Pascal, pH. It is exactly the same as Newton per square meter. So one of these three is good. F, the force, is the force on the surface is in newtons. Of course you can also see that here because you have newtons divided by square meters, so you know that the F will be in newtons, and of course then you know that the area will be in square meters. So to calculate the pressure you need the force applied to a surface and you need the area of the surface. Of course, sometimes you also have to calculate the force or the area, so you need to be able to rebuild this equation, and therefore I use the 6 divided by 3 is 2. So for instance, if you want to calculate the area, so the 3, then you can swap it with the 2. So then you have the 6 divided by 2, and that's equals 3, or F divided by P equals 8. So it looks like this. So the area is the force divided by the pressure. And of course, if you want to calculate the force, so the force is up here, the 6, then you have to do 2 times 3, or F is area times the pressure. So this is the way how to rebuild this equation. So now an example why pressure is so important. If you are trying to cut your bread, like here, you are using a knife. And if you want to cut something, you need to apply a high pressure. So the higher the pressure, the better it will cut. And you can do it with 2 ways. First of all, you can apply more force. Because if you look at the equation, if you apply a larger force, the pressure will also become larger. So that's one way of having a higher pressure. The other way is by lowering the surface. So if this one will be smaller, then the pressure will become larger because it's in the divide side here. And you can do it with a knife. You can or have a higher force by applying more force, or you can sharpen the knife. And if you sharpen the knife, the area will become smaller and thus the pressure will become larger. So you don't need to apply a larger force. And that's why sharper knives cut better than blunt knives, because they have because of the small area, the pressure will automatically become higher. The other way around, if you don't want a high pressure but you want a low pressure, for instance when you're walking on snow, if you don't want to get stuck in the snow, you need a lower pressure, and you can do that with 2 things. You can apply less force. So if the force here will become smaller, the pressure will become smaller. That's not always possible, because if you're walking on snow you cannot just apply less force, because then you have to lose weight very quickly, so that's not always possible. And the second thing you can do is you can increase the area. So you can increase the area and then the pressure will also become smaller, and you can do that with snow boots. They have a very large area, so the pressure becomes smaller so you don't sink into the snow. So that's the way how you can lower pressure, by either increasing the area or lowering the force. When using the same force, which of these needles will be giving the higher pressure? Explain why. So you can use one of these 3 needles. Which one will you choose if you want the highest pressure? And you will always be able to use the same force. So you cannot change something in force, but in something else. So which one will you choose? Well, the correct answer is needle D. There's a reason, because you have to explain why, of course. This needle has the smallest area. You can see the tip here. It's the smallest, so the area is the smallest. When the area in the equation P equals F divided by A is getting smaller, the pressure P will become larger with the same applied force. So this one will work best. So this one will have the best pressure, even if the force is always the same. So that's why a sharp needle is better than a blunt needle. Another question, try this one for yourself. A carton of water, with a mass of 1.2 kilogram is standing on a table. The area of the carton is 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. Calculate the pressure of the carton box on the table. So we have to calculate the pressure, and we know that this area is 15 by 15 centimeters and that it has a mass of 1.2 kilograms. So try this for yourself. I will now give the answer. We have the mass, we have the area. First, I go from centimeters to meters, so 15 centimeters is 0.15 meters. You divide by 100, and it's the area, so you have to multiply them. So 0.1 15 meters times 0.15 meters equals 0.0225 square meters. And now we need the force. Well, we have the mass, and if you have the mass, you can calculate the force with this formula. The force, gravitational force, is the mass times 9.8, the gravitational constant. So 1.2 times 9.8 equals 11.76 newtons. And with these two, you can calculate the pressure. So the pressure, force divided by the area, 11.76 divided by 0.0225, sorry, not 255, this is a typo, but this one is correct. This is 523 newtons per square meter or Pascal. Either of these two is good, or with the divide sign is also good. So this is the pressure of the carton box, the carton of water on the table. Next question. To pierce the skin, a pressure of 684 kilopascal is needed. A nail has a surface of 1.7 square millimeters. Calculate the minimum amount of nails a person of a mass of 70 kilogram needs to lay safely on a bed, so on a nail bed. So we have the panda here, the person of 70 kilograms. It's laying on some nails. You can imagine if it's one nail, it will pierce the skin because the pressure will be very high because the surface is very low. But if the amount of nails goes up, the area will go up and the pressure will go down. So then it will be safely to lay on the bed, and we need to calculate the minimum amount of nails that this person or the panda can lay on. So try this for yourself. I will now give the answer. First, the pressure. We have the pressure 684 kilopascals equals 684,000 pascals or Newton per square meter. Either of these two is good for the equation. We have the mass 70 kilograms. And we have the area of one nail. It's 1.7 millimeters square, sorry, square millimeters. And we have to go to meter square. So we have to divide it by 1,000,000 or times 10 to the minus 6 or 0.000017. Depends on which one you find easier. But you have to divide it by 1,000,000 to go from square millimeter to square meter. And we have to go to square meter because that's also given here. That's the area of one nail, and we need to calculate how many nails we need. So we also need the force. The force is the mass times the gravitational constant. We have the mass, so we can do 70 times 9.8. So the force will be 686 newtons. So you have a pressure, you have an area, and you have a force. So you think you have everything, but this one is not the area we need to put in the equation, because this is the area of one nail, and we need to calculate how many nails you need. So we don't know this one yet because you don't know how many nails you will use. So the area will be unknown. So that's the one we need to calculate. So we know the force, we know the pressure, and we need to calculate the area. So we need to calculate the three, so you can swap these two. So it will look like this. So the total area is the force divided by the pressure. So the force 686 Newton divided by the pressure 684,000 Pascal or Newton per square meter, and we have an area of 0.001 square meter. So this is the total area you need, and every nail has an area which is so large. So now we can calculate how many nails you need. We divide the total area by the area of one nail, and then you know how many nails you need. So 0.001 divided by the area of one nail, and then we get 590 nails. So that's the minimum amount you need to lay safely on the bed. Of course, the more you have, the better. But if it will become less than this, then the pressure will become too large and it will pierce the skin, and that's not what you want. That's it. I hope you now know how pressure works and how you can calculate it. If you found this video useful, please like and let me know. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.